change the time.
Good evening, and welcome to the November 9th, 2021 regular board meeting of the Roswell Independent School District. I now call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please, Ms. Whitcomb?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Gilbert Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kerr,
Yes.
Gilbert Dolan.
Yes.
We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the New Mexico flag, which will be led by our East Grand Plains elementary students.
Guys, turn this way. It's okay. Then we'll turn it off for pictures here in just a second, okay?
We can start with the pledge and then we'll do introductions after, okay?
State of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. These are students from East Grand Plains. They represent our leadership team there, and so I'm going to allow them to come up and introduce themselves to you. My name is Ms. Lefko. I teach 4th grade there.
My name is Elias Duran, and I am in 4th grade.
My
Elias,
name is
hold on.
Eli Cooper, and I am in 5th grade.
And hold on, guys.
Come over here.
Don't leave
Eli.
us yet. Keep going.
Yeah, stop right over there next to Mr. Cole, Eli.
My name is Josue Carbajal, and I'm in 5th grade.
My name is Mia Coughing, and I'm in 3rd grade. My name is Jaslyn Hernandez, and I am in 4th grade. My name is Aubrey Estrada, and I'm in 4th grade. My name is Jesse Higgins, and I am in 5th grade.
My name is Samantha, and I am in 5th grade.
My name is Mia Risa Esparza, and I am in 5th grade.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Do you want to come around and
Start over there and do a fist bump.
Great job. Good job.
Good job. Good job, thank you. Good job. Good job, guys. I love that.
Great job.
Thank you. Gracias.
Good job.
Gracias. Thank you.
Good job, sir.
Good job.
Good job, young lady.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great job.
Huh?
East Grand Plains.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Conley.
Alrighty. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Madam President, there are no modifications to the agenda.
May I have a motion to approve the adoption of our agenda?
So moved. Second.
A motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. Okay, we're going to start with our recognition tonight, Mr. Luck.
Yes, ma'am. Tonight we have a very special recognition to start off with. We will start with our Teacher of the Year nominee. So at this time I would ask for Ms. Alpers, Ms. Cole, and Ms. Green if they could come up and present our nominee.
Good evening, Madam President Morales, Superintendent Luck, members of the board. My name is Jody Alpers. I'm the Early Childhood Coordinator for the RISD. Ms. Clements? We would like to introduce Tracy Clements tonight, who is she was the RISD nominee for the State Award New Mexico Teacher of the Year. She's our nominee. The award has already been presented, but she's our RISD nominee, so we would like to present her with the award and then give a little background on her history with the RISD.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So Tracy has been with the district 25 years. She began her career as an preschool educational assistant in August of 1994. While working in preschool, she was provided the opportunity to attend the university to further her goals in education. After earning her degree, she was hired as an early childhood educator for the Roswell Independent School District and has taught in our pre-K program for 10 years. Ms. Clements' contributions include working with the New Mexico School for the Deaf to learn basic American Sign Language so that she could support her students in her classroom. During her career, she has led multiple grade levels for 3- and 4-year-olds, coached numerous teachers, mentored them, and advised student teachers. Ms. Clements further enhanced her district by attending job fairs in an attempt to draw new teachers to the land of enchantment.
Jody.
She and I have known each other a long time. In fact, she was my secretary, so she saved my life many times. Ms. Clements ensures that education transcends the classroom by nurturing and encouraging her students through learning through play, hands-on activities, and whole-body learning through movement. She always strives to support diversity in her classroom, supporting students in their first language and encouraging students to speak their home language and share their cultural activities in the classroom. Now, Mrs. Green, who is her principal, would like to say a few words.
Good evening, President Morales, Superintendent Luck, and school board. We had written something, but I really just kind of want to speak real quickly from my heart. It's an honor when you, as an administrator, get to have teachers like Ms. Clements. Her colleagues and I depend on her in more ways than we can really discuss. She is such a strength in our building. She has just overcome one of the most traumatic things that an individual could overcome. But throughout that whole time, she would come to work consistently, and she would say things like, how can I help? When her class was quarantined, she continued coming to work, and she would continue coming in the office every single day and say things to me like, Ms. Green, how can I help you today? Is there another classroom that I can help you in? This type of educator is not something that comes to us on a regular basis. I really want to make a note of what a privilege it is to have her in my building. I feel honored that I get to be the leader of her building, and I know that her colleagues feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Morales, Superintendent Luck, and members of the board. I am honored to have been nominated for this award, the New Mexico Teacher of the Year. I would like to thank Mrs. Alpers and Mrs. Green and the Roswell School District for your nomination. It is a privilege to be recognized for doing what I love so much. I treasure being an early childhood educator and helping students build an educational foundation and a love of learning. I have been very blessed to work with the Roswell Independent School District for 25 years, and I look forward to many more. I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to say on another special part of tonight, that my granddaughter was one chosen to be able to lead us in the pledge, so that was special tonight too. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you for all your hard work.
I transported myself into a classroom
And it sounds like we have some family members of Ms. Clements in the audience, and I want to acknowledge you all because it's not easy to be a family member of an educator. You guys see the time, energy, effort, frustrations that she has, and I just want to thank you. I get the chills seeing you up here because you have committed your career to our district for our kids. So thank you so much, Ms. Clements.
I just wanted to say something. When I read her bio, I kind of transported myself 50 years back to my classroom where I didn't speak a word in English. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I had been in her classroom and I had been born now, the encouragement she gave to the Spanish speakers to actually use their own home language. And I believe you said you label things in Spanish also around the classroom. Oh my gosh, I wish I'd been there. And I know that your hard work has resulted in this massive achievement. I thank you.
And I too would like to say I've watched Tracy grow over the years. I've been in her classroom many, many times, and what an awesome teacher and awesome role model for our RISD. You represent us well, Tracy. Thank you so much for your service to education to our kids. God bless you.
Mr. Luck, it looks like we have some students getting pretty tired of holding all those big trophies back there. Perhaps we should.
I guess.
Recognitions.
Well, we're going to wait him one more time because first on the list tonight is our Goddard High School band. So, Mr. Everett, if you would please come this way with your band, guys, and I'm going to actually brag on y'all while you get up here. Madam President, members of the board, I'd like to honor this evening the Goddard High School band. We talked about this about a month or so ago about honoring our bands, and we thought we might ought to let them finish up their marching season so that we could put all of their accomplishments together. But as you can see, it's quite substantial. So the Goddard High School band attended the Tumbleweed Classic Marching Competition in Denver City, Texas, the Green and Silver Classic Marching Festival in Portales, New Mexico, and received Best Band in Class 3A, 4A. Southeast District New Mexico Music Educators Association District Marching Performance Assessment in Artesia. The band and color guard both earned ratings of superior at that meet. Pageant of the Bands in Albuquerque, New Mexico won Outstanding Color Guard in Class 2A, and also attended the Zia Marching Fiesta in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and put on a great show and had a lot of fun. So, Mr. Everett, if you want to brag a little bit about your band, we'd love to hear about it.
Sure. So these are three of our band students. This is our drum major, Sitlali Palma, and one of our clarinet seniors, Daniel Gallagher, and this is one of our color guard captains, Anna. And so they've worked very, very hard all season. We're super proud of them. Like Mr. Luck said, the thing I forgot to put on the list that I will throw in there is we also they earned jointly with the Goddard High School dance team the Spirit Award for the parade, and of course we're very proud to be associated with that group of students. That's a group of young ladies who are really coming up in the world, and we're very proud of them as well. So I did want to mention that. But in addition to everything Mr. Luck said, I also want to point out just a few things. We also had 9 students audition for All-State during the same span of time. We have a concert in 2 weeks that we've been preparing for, so that is coming up Actually, it's in a week from Thursday, so that's coming up here very, very quickly as well. And then we have all district honor band auditions in December. And so in addition to all of the marching band stuff, they are also active in all of these other things going into the season. The trophies, of course, are nice, and the events are nice, but the biggest thing that I've enjoyed this season is simply being back with the students and seeing them come back and be able to do these things together. And one of the things that I think is very, very important for anybody who's watching to understand, it's one of the coolest things about band competitions, is that Roswell High and Goddard are not actually in the same class at anything we perform in. And so, as I kept telling the kids, the ideal world is we both get first place at everything, and we can, you know, fight over the small details later on. And of course, that is a direction we're all moving in. So we're very, very proud to be a part of not only our own individual hard work, but also a culture in which we're pushing each other and supporting each other and making great strides. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched a band work. These kids put on an absolutely phenomenal number of hours. If you drive by the Goddard High School parking lot, pretty much any time from July until last week. You probably saw us out there, statistically speaking. We were probably out there. There'd be several times where we'd go home at night and be like, I'll see you guys in 6 hours. You know, they've put in just a tremendous amount of work, and I could not be more honored and more pleased than to work with these students and be a part of their experience and their journey. And it was a great season. We're very, very proud, and we want to thank you all for your support, for inviting them up here to get a little bit of recognition, and just thank you guys for that.
Do you all want to introduce yourself?
And then you guys want to talk? You should talk.
Hi, I'm Citlali Palma. I'm the drum major this year for Goddard Big Blue Crew. I really enjoyed this year, especially because it's my senior year, and I finally got to go back and just be with all my friends, especially because it's been very hard for me these past 2 years that have gone by. I just had like a wonderful time, and like Mr. Evers said, like having the trophies and like winning and stuff, that's great, but it was just amazing to just be with all my friends and be with Mr. Everett again, and just having our family back together.
Awesome.
I'm Daniel Gallagher. I'm a senior clarinet, girl boss, future CEO of Schmeatburger on the Moon. I had a lot of fun this year, even though there were a few rough times. You got to know the rough times to know the good times, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was pretty fun, I guess.
Chad, would you raise
I'm Anna Joseph. I was the section leader for the color guard.
Thank you, Mr.
And honestly, all I have to say is I'm just really proud of them because we got first in a lot of things, and I've just seen them build up from where they were to now. So it's like I'm a happy mom. So that's all I got to say for that.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you all very much. This was a nice opportunity for us.
Awesome. Good luck in everything you do. Congratulations. Awesome. That blue. Thank you. I love your personality.
Congratulations. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
You're just as important. Very important. Congratulations. Yes, awesome job. Awesome job.
With the young kids, huh?
Thank you for your leadership.
They couldn't do it without it.
No,
Yes, I know.
I know, I suffered band one time and there was.
Dr. Gomez, if you would bring your group up here, we'll give a little love your way too at this time. Madam President, members of the board, on October 2nd, the Big Red Band competed in the 31st Annual Texas Tumbleweed Classic and made it to the finals. They placed 7th overall out of 24 bands from West Texas and Eastern New Mexico. For the Eastern New Mexico State Fair Parade, they placed first in the high school bands division. On October 5th, they participated in the ENMU Green and Silver Marching Festival. On October 12th, for the Southeast New Mexico Music Education Association, I think I got that right, District Marching Festival, the Big Red Band received a 1 rating, which is superior. On October 16th, because we can't go another week without doing band stuff, we participated in the New Mexico Pageant of the Bands and Rio Rancho and placed third in their division, AAA. On October 23rd, they participated in the Zia Marching Festival. They have 2 performances coming up, one which would be on Veterans Day this year, 11/11. The RHS Big Band will be performing at 155 in the RHS Big Gym, with a winter concert at Pueblo Auditorium on December the 2nd at 6:30 p.m. Dr. Gomez.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, thank you. I did leave a couple things off as Mr. Everett was speaking. Our color guard also received Division I in Artesia as well. And it's a newly formed group, so they took off, and man, those girls have been working hard. Also forgot to mention Dr. Varela's been assisting, and I couldn't do half this stuff without him being there. I forget a lot, and I text him, can you go get this for me? Can you go get that for me? And he'd take off, go get it, come right back. So he's been a blessing as well. I mean, these kids have worked hard just as many hours as the Big Blue crew has been putting in. Getting up at 6, being ready to go at 7 in the morning, coming back, Tuesday night rehearsals, coming back from midnight from a competition, get up. I see you guys on the field at 7 a.m. ready to go again. So they have been working hard. Our boosters have been working hard. The parents showing up, helping take care. Going from having nothing last year and then going to 5 competitions was just a feat in itself. You know, the scheduling buses and food for the kids, and man, but they put in some hard work and they did amazing, just absolutely amazing. So I'm proud of all the work that we've had. We've had some tremendous support from not only from the district, from our administration at Roswell High as well. Mr. Carrasco, Ms. Hall, Ms. Mendoza, Mr. Sandoval, they've all been very supportive of us as well on that. That truly makes a difference. Truly does. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to do this. Without their support, with the hard work from the kids and support from their parents. So, would you like to say something?
It's nice being out of retirement and coming back to do what I love. So I don't envy y'all anymore.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, come on. This is Jordan, one of our drum majors.
I'm just really grateful that y'all are having us here tonight to be represented. This band, it really means a lot to me. It means a lot to us, especially the long way I've come from my freshman year to hear the experiences and the accomplishments that we've made. It's just outstanding in my opinion, and this year it'll definitely be one that I cherish and hold dear to my heart, looking forward in the future. But in the future, I do hope, and that's why I'm thankful that y'all represent us, because they're doing outstanding things, and I'm hoping, like, even after I'm gone, that they'll continue to thrive and do those outstanding things.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm the drum captain. During my other years of band, we never had color guard. And so this year I was like, what the heck, color guard? Why would we have that? But they actually turned out to be really good. And they're really cool. And I had a lot of fun this year. And everyone's like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, the band hall, just hanging out. We had 5 competitions this year, which was crazy. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. So yeah.
I'm Jose. I'm the clarinet section leader. I'm a junior, been the section leader for 2 years, going for my 3rd one. This year was really fun. The 5 competitions, really fun. My freshman year, we didn't do that. We only went to 1. We were supposed to go to 2, but it got canceled. And I'm really hoping for a better year next year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Isaac Aguilar. My friend Jose and I, we are the librarians. We're in charge of handing out music and sorting it to all the band members. But, well, I'd just like to give Dr. Gomez credit because he taught a lot of us a lot of what we know, even from middle school, and I'm just glad he's here with us here at the high school.
For all of our band students, I just want you guys to know what it's like from a fan perspective. I'm in the audience at a lot of your events, and you just take the energy from like here to here. I am one of those people in the audience playing drums with you, or do, like you guys, and I'm just a regular fan, and you make the experience just times 10. So great job, and thank you from a fan. Would you like to shake our hands with Ms. Bill?
Bring them around.
Good job. Awesome. Congratulations. Love it. Congratulations. Awesome job. I'm looking forward to Friday.
Great job.
Good job.
Got us some change.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm thinking about it.
Mona.
I just wanted to say, I actually went to Valley View when you were in the principal day.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do.
Who was your first grade teacher?
Oh, you have to ask.
Okay, I'm not sure because I don't remember the years exactly.
Look at the face. Is his face familiar?
Ms. Morales.
I had
Miss Garcia, Miss Hubbard, Hernandez.
I'm gonna just name some of my teachers that I remember. I had Miss Jolly, and I had Miss her name changed. Lopez. And I think those are like the earliest teachers I had.
That was right after
So that
me.
was right after you. Yeah.
Done.
Well, great job. And I'll come next as you here. He's in Fort Benning, Georgia.
Great
Thank
work,
you.
though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now have inquiries and general comments. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
Yes, Madam President, we have 3 individuals signed up to speak.
Okay, I'll go over our public forum ground rules and then we'll invite them up to speak. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. Please do not discuss confidential personnel matters, including those of a disciplinary nature, regarding any RISD employee. This should be discussed with the superintendent or the employee supervisor. Please self-monitor and observe the 2-minute time limit. You may be given a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. If needed to accommodate a larger group of speakers and maintain a reasonable meeting schedule, the time limit for all speakers may be shortened. No sharing of time is permitted. Public commentary and dialogue is only guaranteed during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the board meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. For the safety of yourself and others, signs and placards are not permitted in the boardroom. However, you are invited to express your concerns during public forum or submit your concerns to the board in writing. Okay.
First, we have Ryan Fritsch.
I hope everybody's having a good night. Thank you, board members, for being here. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to give a little bit of some information to you guys if you don't already know, but definitely to the public that is here and watching online. So there's a couple things on this agenda, like the PED COVID-19 rule. So that kind of has to go with what I'm going to say. But if people aren't really aware of what's kind of coming down from the state PED, right now, a notice of proposed rulemaking to obtain input on the proposed repeal, which is including the suspension of authority of a local school board member. And I know that these people put hours and hours of work in trying to maintain what we've got going on here in RISD and everything that's coming from the state. So the suspension of authority of a local school board member, a superintendent, or a local principal, okay, if we don't comply on certain issues. Now, if I don't know about you, but that scares me, okay? That really scares me. The fact that these people can do everything in their willpower to protect our kids and our parents, but be potentially thrown off the board. The principal could be fired or suspended, okay, just for standing up for our kids and our parents. So I know there's a lot of obstacles that these people have had to overcome to get even to where we are at right now with thank you, ma'am. With where we are with the COVID mandates and the mask mandates and things like that. But right now, the public comment ends November 12th, okay? So I would really encourage you guys to get on the state PED website and post your public comments that is wrong. Because who knows what's coming around the corner? Forced vaccines mandates, no parental consent vaccines. What else? What's going to happen? Okay, I'm just being aware. Thank you for guys for having me.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Sure, Tom.
Now we have Denise Dawson.
Oh, Denise.
On behalf of the Roswell Education Association, I wanted to thank Mona Kirk and Milburn Dolan for their service to our kids, to the members of our staff. We, of course, want to thank all of you because you all work so hard for no pay. People don't realize this, but you guys don't get a penny. You know, not like the big bucks I get. But anyway, I want to thank you both for your service, and I want to welcome Mr. Cheney, Mr. French, Mr. Edwards again, yay, to the board starting January. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson.
Thank you.
Now we have Anna, too.
Anna too.
Hi, my name is Anna too. I have 3 kids in the school system here. I'm here to talk just about recess and just some of the things that have been going on since we moved here not too long ago. According to the CDC, I could go on forever. I'm just going to try and cut this short. The CDC says that the CDC guidelines on recess say that children should have recess. It's incredibly important to their social health, all sorts of development. It keeps, the CDC just wants to point out that it helps increase their level of physical activity. We've seen obesity in children rise 36% in the last year. It increases their memory, attention, concentration, helps them stay on class. It reduces disruptive behavior in the classroom. The American Pediatric Association has a plethora, and the CDC have plethora of studies of why recess is a critical right for children and not a privilege. We've experienced at the school we're at that my children are regularly having recess taken away from them, regularly, and it's so frustrating to come from somewhere that valued recess and then to come somewhere to see my kids being punished. Roswell's school district policy, I was told by the teacher that recess was a privilege and not a choice. I corrected her and sent her the school policy, and since then, we have, that child hasn't had recess taken away, but my other child has. It is against school policy. I would just like to ask you guys to implement a mandatory 2 recess for kids. My 4th grader is not getting his 3 to 5 minute breaks. You guys are recommending every hour, and neither is my 2nd grader. I would like to see the school make recess super important because it'll help with the disruptive behavior that these teachers are taking away recess for. Really quick, I'd also like to point out that the guidelines as far as wearing masks at school, according to the PED, masks are not required outside, and the teachers are forcing my children to wear a mask outside at recess. We also, I'm so sorry.
Ms. Tu, I'm sorry, we do have to catch up, but you're welcome to email us. And do we have her contact information, phone number, and email? Okay.
Perfect. I
Thank you.
just am asking for us to continue to follow the state guidelines, that children are not masked at recess, and that our kids follow at the
And I think-
minimum, the,
Mr.
school
Luck will be in
district
contact with
requirements.
you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Board, I did move our executive session earlier in our agenda a little bit. We will have our school board lawyer on with us, and because we're being charged, I wanted to have it sooner rather than later. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of Roswell Independent School District will meet in executive session pursuant to the NMSA Section 10-15-1 regarding the following limited personnel matter: superintendent evaluation. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. We have a motion to go into executive session. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The motion carried to go into executive session where no action will be taken, and that will begin at 6:35. And we will return after. regular session. The time is 7:06. We will not be taking any action. So next on our agenda, we have information items. Sorry. Okay, Mr. Luck.
I'm sorry, Madam President, would you bring us back in?
Sorry, that wasn't in here. Okay, may I have a roll call? Do we need a roll call to come back?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Whitcamp?
Hope Morales?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Monica
Yes.
Hurd? James Edwards? Gilbert Dolan?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, it should have been, I make a motion to return from executive session and then roll call. But we're done. Let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Right, but it's not on mine.
That's okay. We're good.
Okay. Here we go. Information items, Mr. Luck?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we're going to start off with Mr. Mata, who's going to discuss New Mexico School Board Association Policy Service Alert.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Luck, members of the board. So the policy service alert, I'll just go ahead and read the body of the new regulation. It says school districts and schools shall follow all public health orders, executive orders, and department guidance, including the COVID-19 response toolkit for New Mexico Public Schools, for the operation of schools, school-sponsored activities, and school premises, including school transportation. School districts and schools shall honor tribal sovereignty and abide by applicable tribal public health orders, tribal executive orders, and tribal council resolutions. Now, policy services assumes that the issuance of these mandates of state regulation is intended to bolster the department's power uniformly to enforce public health orders in the state schools and to respect tribal authority to do the same as needed. These regulations is immediately effective and applicable to all New Mexico public schools.
Madam President, members of the board, I believe this is an alert that you guys received from the New Mexico School Boards Association, that this is just something that we, nothing new with this, but wanted to bring it before you tonight for information item.
Thank you.
And I know some of the challenge was that this was formerly under the Department of Health, and a lot of the community was saying, well, school boards don't follow regulations under the Department of Health, we follow under the Public Education Department. So I think they just made it more official by making it a rule under the Public Education Department. Nothing we do changes, but just where it comes down from changes.
Madam President, I believe you're correct.
Okay.
Up next, we have Ms. Dolores Ingram from Nancy Lopez Elementary School, and she is going to come and present a brief summary of kind of a 90-day plan. So we've given her a time limit so that we can make sure that we keep our meeting moving, but we wanted to make sure that she had a chance to come in and brag a little bit about her group. So, Ms. Ingram.
Absolutely, thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Brian Luck and Madam President, members of the board. I'm extremely excited to be here and to be back in our boardroom. I know many of you have traveled with us on this journey of 90-day planning, and I'm excited to share with you what we are doing at Nancy Lopez. As you may or may not know, we just finished up our 60-day check-in, so we're at the tail end of the fall's 90-day plan. You have a sheet that looks like this. Our sheet includes some data from 2021, and as you can see, we have a lot of work to do. Not only do we have some gaps that we need to fill, but we also have to plan to keep moving ahead and moving forward with our kids. So as you can see, our first focus area is our Layer 1 core instruction. And in that, we have that our teachers will successfully deliver foundational reading skills instruction. In our younger grades, grades K through 3, we utilize our open court that was purchased with Mr. Gottlieb last year. We also utilize Hegarty. Again, those are our foundational skills for our lower grades. In the upper grades, we have hired an amazing staff member, Katie Vaz. She's been a part of our district for quite some time. Katie's working on her CALT license in Oklahoma, and we were super excited to hire her on to our team. She provides a lot of our structured literacy support for our 3rd through 5th grade. She is in our Title I position, but her focus is literacy. So our kids are getting intense daily intervention with the Title I teacher for an hour a day. And those kids are our kiddos who are the most needy, our most struggling 3rd through 5th grade, get to work with Ms. Faz. She also pulls some of our K through 2 who may or may not already be on a SAT, but are needing some extra support from someone who is an expert in the field. So she is a great addition to what we can't wait to get our hands on, the CKLA adoption, so that we can begin to instruct our kids in a more structured manner instead of piecemealing what we can gather from the Reading Street closet. Our second desired outcome is for teachers to align their instruction with priority standards to accelerate learning in both reading and mathematics. One of the things that Nancy Lopez staff does is we meet regularly. We have our PLC meetings. I get to meet with each of the teams. Our teams are a bit smaller this year. We're hoping to get back to 2 teachers per grade level next year. But currently, we meet in our PLCs, and we use the NMIS 2.0, which is the New Mexico Instructional Guide, to drive our planning. We've dissected the documents so that teachers are unpacking the standards. They're looking at standards that were in the grade before them, standards that are vertically aligned for the grade after them. We take apart the assessments that they provide, examples, align them with our formative assessments, and we currently have our teachers in a 3-week cycle. So at the end of every 3 weeks, we provide a formative assessment to make sure that we're on track and to target the kiddos who can't wait until the beginning of a month to iStation test. So that is part of our standards alignment. We also have participated in the Tntp district training that was provided by the instruction office, and all of that is found in our PLC notes. So we keep PLC notes where we document and color code, because that just works for me, what it is that we're doing in our 90-day plan and where you can find the evidence in our notes. As you can see, like I said, our data shows you we have a lot to do. I'm extremely proud of our 5th grade in reading. They did transfer over. Their teacher looped with them, and we departmentalized in 5th grade.
Nice.
So Mrs. Franco has worked with these kids now for 2 years, even though the majority of that time was on mine. We've always struggled in math, and I think that's across the district and across the state. We're struggling in mathematics. We look forward to adding that to our 90-day plan for the spring so that we can really start getting back to accelerating our learning while still filling those gaps. I mean, we can't leave those kids who are still struggling behind. So that's basically our plan for the fall. We will have all of our documentation in New Mexico Dash before we go home on Christmas break, and then we will create a new plan for the spring. I know I said all of that in under 10 minutes, so Mr. Luck is very excited. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything I can answer about our plan?
I have a quick
Go
one,
ahead.
if that's okay. On your math, what are the 1st graders doing that it's a little bit higher than the rest of the other grades?
Our kinder and 1st grade normally come higher in mathematics. I mean, they just, their concepts are not as in-depth.
I got you. Yep.
And so, a lot of our kids, thank goodness for pre-K, come to us being able to count, and skip count. Some of them already come to us with basic addition. As we progress through the grade levels, it gets more and more difficult. And we're hoping that the more that we can provide reading instruction for our students, the better that they will do in mathematics, because not all of our tests are read aloud. So there's sometimes some testing that's done that is supposed to be measuring mathematics, but it also is measuring whether or not the child can read.
On the data on this report, is this from the beginning of your assessment or which?
These are November.
So it's the monthly?
Yes.
How has it changed over time? Is that where you're seeing like the increases from August?
We are increasing, yes. This past month was minimal. Our first, from September to October, the kids did an amazing job in growth, and I had to kiss a snake. They got to watch it on Zoom, and 2 classes got to see it live, the kids who showed the most growth. I'm preparing to kiss a pig in December. And so that they are growing, but, you know, Ms. Morales, it's even getting kids to come to school is still a struggle. 3 years ago, Nancy Lopez had the highest attendance rate in Roswell schools for the elementaries, and bouncing back from COVID has been rough. And you know, I don't blame parents. If kids are sick and they are nervous about getting other kids sick, I'm happy for those kids to stay home, but you know, sometimes that ends up being 5 to 10 days, and that's hard to recover.
And I'm assuming, I love data, that type of person, and your goals are kind of set by K through 2nd and 3 through 5. Do teachers have their own grade level data goals, or are you?
Yes, so all of our goal setting is based on last year's data, and depending on where they were in the grade level, it may be heavily weighted in more in one grade level based on either the teacher or the experience, sometimes even the group of kiddos, because at Nancy Lopez, we do have to pull for our bilingual program. So having combo classes and pullouts, we really had to think about where we were placing kids so that we could get the most bang for our buck. So depending on who the teacher is, what kids are in that classroom, if we have data from them last year, you may see that 2nd grade has a higher percentage that they have to meet compared to 1st grade. So.
Thank you. And I think my last question, it might be for you, Ms. Cole. As they're dissecting the standards, aligning assessments, I'm just worried that they're going to be putting a lot of time and work on something. Are we going to make them change it later? Like, how are we working with them so they're not having to redo it? Or
No, we won't be changing anything that they're doing. In fact, we'll just be adding on, and perhaps that staff can support some of the training and things that we'll be doing as we move into the summer. So Ms. Ingram mentioned the Tntp training, which we did district-wide. And that has to do with working with the New Mexico instructional scopes, which she referenced, and so no, we won't be changing anything.
Okay.
So Ms. Ingram, I have a couple of questions. So is this the first year that 5th grade has departmentalized?
No, ma'am. We've departmentalized at Nancy Lopez since this will be our 4th year. So my first year there, they did not, and I didn't change anything. And then after that, we had teams of teachers who worked really well together. And it shows, especially in that ELA class.
Yeah.
We do have a newer teacher as her partner, I guess you could say, who's learning a lot, and we hope to continue to learning more. I guess that one of the biggest pushes for us at Nancy Lopez is the adoption of CKLA. We can't wait to get our hands on the training, even if it's before Christmas, and the materials, because our teachers are eager, and we have an expert in our building in literacy, and we have so much to learn. In fact, I want to do over. I want to teach 12 years of kindergarten all over again with everything that I've learned.
Good. So my next question then is, your ELA teacher then is the one that looped from 4th to 5th?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Franco.
Okay, okay. Great. I'm all about departmentalization. When I was at Valley View, my 4th grade departmentalized too. I had 4th and 5th, and then it went down to 3rd. So I'm
And we're really blessed. I mean, you have to have team members who trust each other to rotate and who trust their team members. Because at Nancy Lopez, we're pulling for Spanish language arts. We're pulling for English language development. We're pulling for literacy lab. And not to mention all of our kids who get pulled for any type of speech or resource room. So the magic has to be there for it to work. And I'm just happy to be a part of their team.
Great. Thank you.
Ingram, do you have a lot of teachers that are willing to do the looping with their students, or is it something that they?
I think that's a tricky question. I feel like if kids and teachers don't have that great bond, I want for kids to be able to start fresh. So I think that it has to work. You have to look at the kids and you have to look at the teacher. I could never ask for everyone to loop, because, you know, that's teaching one set of standards 1 year and you're rock solid, and then the next year you're learning a whole new set of standards. So I would never mandate that, but it's definitely a possibility if they ask for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Ingram, something that was not in your 90-day plan that I want to acknowledge is just the community that you've built around Nancy Lopez and how you're really engaging parents and the community as a whole and bringing just pride to your neighborhood and that school. So thank you for that.
We're super excited. We have our Veterans Day Shoebox Parade on the 11th. We're sad we don't have any veterans coming into the building, but we do have a Zoom link that we've sent out to families. We love our community, and we're extremely blessed to have support from our families and our students and, the police force, the fire department, everybody who comes out to help us in our big planning, our big events that we have that are now outside, but they still get pulled off.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We good, Ward?
You had,
Nope, she answered my question.
okay.
Someone asked it and she answered it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ingram.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good job.
Now we're gonna move on to approval of the minutes.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, October 12, 2021.
Board, any modifications? Okay.
No changes, no modifications.
I have one, Ms. Whitcamp.
Okay.
On page 2, under information, it states language, it says from shall to will not be done, and it needs to be changed from shall to may. I dream about shall and may.
We'll never get those fixed.
And that was the only one.
Yeah.
Okay, with that modification, may I have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll take a motion by Mr. Dolan and a second by Ms. Kirk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion has carried. Okay, the consent agenda is now up.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent agenda to include approval of the October bills, authorize November bills, approve November bars, and temporary cash transfer.
Board, any discussion or information needed?
On the October bills?
Any?
All of those
Okay.
items.
I do have a question. What does SREB stand for?
SREB is a group that we contract with for our CRT.
Southern Regional Education Board.
Southern Regional? Thanks for clarifying that.
It is it's the new, it used to be High Schools at Work, and it's the institution that we're working with for a lot of our career technical education training, our master schedule re-envisioning. It's a group that we've worked with for multiple years.
And do they meet at a certain day? Or is it the weekend, or?
No, it varies throughout the course of the year. We actually had some face-to-face training last week. We've also got training tomorrow, as a matter of fact, with our elementary, secondary, and mid-school people attending over Zoom. So it varies different times of the year.
Well, I had a question on page 2,
Madam
on
President,
the items that
You
were
wanna pull it?
bought.
gotta pull those off.
Okay, so, and that was on the October bills? Is that right? Ms. Sanchez, your question is from the October bill?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull the October bills off of the consent agenda and move it down. So we will have our November bills, November bars, and the temporary cash transfer on the consent agenda for approval. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have to wait to ask my
Just a
question then?
second.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so with removing that item, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Kirk and a second by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carried. So now for an action item, we will have our October bills.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Sanchez?
Yes, I was saying that on page 2, during this SREB meeting, in one of the, on page 2, it said something about red wine. What does that mean? It's in the October bills,
Oh, October bills.
on page 2.
Do you have it pulled up where you can see it, Ms.
I
Sanchez?
don't have it pulled
Or you
out
could read
just
it to
now.
me?
But it is, I saw it on page 2.
So what I would say to that, without having it in front of me, I didn't apologize, I didn't print out the October bills for tonight, but I'll go back and research that for you. But I can assure you, no one
Is this-
purchased alcohol with
So are you
district funds.
referencing
So what I
the
see on
description?
page 1 and 2, it's a list of food items, Mr. Cole,
Yeah.
for the meals, so a lot of food items.
It's
type of
almost
thing.
towards the end, where, right here. See it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Chimichurri
Oh.
chicken, parsley, red wine. It
chicken,
must have been-
parsley, red wine.
it must
That
be-
might have been the sauce, I assume.
It
with
must,
the chicken.
yeah, be part of the,
Part of
Oh,
the-
it's
of the
chimichurri chicken.
It's probably the color
Yeah.
of the sauce.
Okay, I kind of got this wrong.
okay.
I'll
Yeah,
find
that's
out
under
for sure.
description.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I see it, yeah. It's $140.24 for that meal from Albertsons Market.
I'm sorry, I missed that one. It's a
And
joke.
I'm so sorry, Board President and members of the board. I'm a little confused because all of our trainings have been either virtual or at the school. And so we haven't done anything that would require food with SREB.
And this is from Albertsons. It's
Yeah,
feeding
Albertsons
of the
Market.
guests for SREB.
Uh-huh. Albertsons.
I'm not real sure about that because right above it is a math activity for fifth grade students.
Yeah.
So,
I want to be in that class.
So it might have been mixed with some different items.
I don't know.
So can we get clarification on what these meals, what events or meeting training it was for?
Okay.
Hopefully it's addressing.
Yes, Madam Board President, members of the board, absolutely. I'll get you the detail on that, and I'll do that as quickly as tomorrow morning, and I'll forward on to all the board members. Yes.
Mr. Cole, I'll take a snapshot of it and send it to you. How about that?
While he finds that information, any other questions?
No, that was the only question I had out of the whole October bills.
Okay. Alrighty, with that, and he will get us that information tomorrow, may I have a motion to approve the October bills?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Dolan and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passed for the October bills. Next, we have Reconsider Policy B 3400, Board Member Compensation and Expenses.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval to reconsider Policy B 3400, Board Member Compensation and Expenses.
Okay, so board, this first part is the reconsideration of this item. If the board approves the reconsideration, then we will discuss and vote on the policy itself. So first, may I have a motion to reconsider this policy?
So moved, Madam President.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Dolan and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion carried. So now we have again the approval of policy B 3400, board member compensation and expenses.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of Policy 3400, Board Member Compensation and Expenses.
Mr. Mata, do you want to add anything? Ms. Trujillo was here last month and kind of gave us an overview. Our lawyer had looked it over and said we could do the word change from shall to may. Whenever the NMSBA saw it, they flagged it and said we cannot make that word change because it goes against what was intended legislatively. Anything else to add?
Well,
Not really, you're correct with that. At first, it was approved by our counselor, and when it went to Mr. Kennedy, the counselor for the NMSBA, he went ahead and said that's not a good idea and gave us a couple of reasons why we shouldn't do that.
so a caveat in there, this is Mr. Kennedy's first year taking this on, so he's really not as versed as, but our school board lawyer gave us the thumbs up, said it was okay to change that one word from shall to may, and I don't see that there is a reason to go against our school board lawyer. And I just think it's our choice. I know other districts around the state have done that, and they disregarded Mr. Kennedy's recommendation and left it the way they had adopted it originally.
So I have two thoughts on it. I don't want this to become a habit where we're showing something to our lawyer and they agree or disagree, and then we show it to another lawyer and they agree or disagree, and then it changes back and forth. I don't want us to do that.
I agree.
I also don't think though, if this though, policy is supporting something that was done in the meaning my understanding is we don't have a lot of say-so on some of the language, which is what I think the flag was. So are there did other districts actually go against it? And what if we don't agree legislatively? Because then that will
They
open
left
up a
it.
whole other can of worms as well.
No, and really, it's just wording. You ask 5 different lawyers, they're gonna give you 5 different opinions. So no, it's what was put in the legislation, word-wise. Whether it's changing a word here or there, no, I don't think it's out of line. And I don't think Don Williams would even balked at it. He would have accepted it and gone on with it. But like I said, Mr. Kennedy's new. He's brand new at this, and he's scrutinizing everything. So I just think it's irrelevant.
My only question is for Mr. Cole, unfortunately.
Sir.
Could this come back as a finding on an audit?
Yes.
That's my only concern about the whole thing.
Yes, sir. And I'll give you my opinion because, I mean, who knows? I've seen audit findings come back for some of the craziest things that you'd imagine, both big and small. My opinion, and for what it's worth, is that this would not generate an audit finding. And I disagree with Mr. Kennedy's opinion, quite frankly.
I do too.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mata, let's say the board wants to keep it as is from shall to may. Would they then come back and let us know that we are just in total violation? Like,
No.
would they come back and let us know? Well, I would almost want them to come back and let us know.
I
No,
don't
they
believe
have to
would come
adopt
back. I could check on that, President Morales, to see
I just
what
want to see what consequences there might be, if any, or.
There shouldn't be any. It's our, once we approve it, then they accept it. And
So
he's-
we use them as a policy unit,
Yes,
but ultimately, it's RISD's board policy.
that's right.
You know, and if they have an issue to it, then the board said may. Legislature said you shall, you get your money. This started back when I was on the board before. It opened up a whole can of worms. And it went crazy because some districts, every time a board member went to a basketball game, there's my $45 or $75, and it was happening 4 or 5 times a week. And then what happened, they were small districts, they had to go to Santa Fe and say, hey, we're short on money, and it became a finding because they had spent thousands and thousands of dollars for board members to go to basketball games.
Yep.
But I think that if it's a board policy, we probably spend enough time on it, say, okay, we're gonna run with what we said, and be done with it.
I agree.
So I think the only other request I would have for our policy committee and, Mr. Mata, is whenever the board does approve something in policy, then we've approved it in policy, and I don't think it should be coming back to us again for reconsideration.
And that was my original statement.
So, okay, so any other discussion on this item?
And when you seek the legal counsel, was that from Mr. Ortiz? Or
I
was it
didn't.
the SBA?
Ms. Sanchez, the first one, I believe it was Mr. Tony Ortiz that gave us the original recommendation. The follow-up with NMSBA was John Kennedy.
The second opinion? God, that's hard.
So do I have any motion on this item?
So I make a motion that we leave it as is, and actually, we can table it. I make a motion, we table it.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk to table this item and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and this item was tabled. Okay, same thing a little bit with the second item. The first vote is to reconsider policy G0861, staff conduct with students.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval to reconsider policy G0861, staff conduct with students.
And so this first vote is just for the reconsideration. For that, may I get a motion?
So moved.
And get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion carried. So now we have policy G-0861, staff conduct with students, from policy to regulation.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of policy G0861, staff conduct with students.
And this is the same thing. Whenever it went to NMSBA, they kind of said it doesn't have to be policy. Instead, just add it to a different policy, make it a regulation. So that's why it's being brought to the board. Again, my thing is, if the board has already approved this in policy, then
Leave it.
that's what I think we should do. Otherwise, it should have been presented to us in a way as a regulation rather than policy.
I make a motion that we table this.
Second.
This regulation.
I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Mr. Dolan. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and this item is tabled. Now we have RFP number 22-03, recommendation E-rate internet service provider.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the RFP number 22-03, recommendation E-rate internet service provider.
Thank you. And board, in your board book, you have the scoring rubrics from the different organizations. Any questions or discussion on this item?
No, ma'am.
May I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Dolan and a second made by Ms. Kirk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion carried. Okay, now we're on to reports. Mr. Luck.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Madam President. Members of the board, just some quick updates. A little bit of what's been going on. Finishing a project that I started about a month ago. Been to every school in the district and talked to the student leadership at these schools. I've had anywhere from 4 to 24 kids in a room. At one time, I asked them 3 questions. Do they have a computer? That was a big push last year as far as making sure that we had technology in students' hands. And without question, we either had a computer or had access to the computer at school, which will come in huge should we ever have to do any kind of remote learning for even anything like a snow day. Second question, which again was a big topic from last year, was do you have good internet? And if you don't have good internet, are you aware that our district can help get you better internet? And actually, at all grade levels had yes. If I don't have it, I know where I can get it. But for the most part, did not find a huge internet gap across our city. Third.
Mr. Luck, please consider letting a snow day be a snow day.
Okay.
Okay, just.
As long as they don't make us make it up, because that's one of our big concerns right there. So that was something, and I haven't been able to get to the bottom of that as far as last year. That was passed, that if we miss a day for any reason, that it has to be made up. And so that's something that we're looking at. But, again, my bigger deal was for the technology part. They've got it. We've actually had some kids that have been quarantined for whatever reason and have utilized that computer provided by the district to help stay current. But I'm going to get to the bottom of the other, so I totally understand that one as well. The last question, which was the bigger push for this year, which was if you or one of your friends were struggling with any kind of emotional thing and you felt like you needed to get somebody some help, would you know how to go about asking for some help? And I didn't ask the kids if they were ready to go counsel a kid, or get in depth. Just if you see a friend that's struggling, and it could be something as simple as letting your teachers know that you're worried about your friend. And I was pleasantly surprised that probably 90% of the kids had zero issue with being ready to go jump for some help for somebody. Now, hopefully that stays. My hope would be that we don't need it, but my hope there too is that the kids continue that and keep looking out for each other there at their buildings. Wanted to touch base just real quick about our Equity Council. We are meeting with our Equity Council the Mondays before the board meeting. We actually met yesterday, working to fill the vacancies that we've had on the Equity Council. Had a little bit of communication with Board President Morales as far as the past process. And we've got a few openings for some students, parents, and then I think I've got the staff part taken care of. But I will continue to work to make sure that that group meets monthly and that we work to fulfill all of the guidelines put forth by Yazi Martinez with my Equity Council. Shifting over into meeting with the teachers, and that's been very interesting. It's funny. I walk into the buildings and the principals are like, okay, what do you got? And I literally sit on a little bitty chair in front of them and say, how are you doing? And we just kind of work our way out of that. And how can we as a district help you and support you? What could we take off your plate that would make things easier for you? What are you seeing with your kids? And I'm getting good feedback from just, you know, the face-to-face visits with the staff. I guess in a perfect world, we'd be wrapping that up by now. But with all of the demands of the COVID environment and trying to get the ball rolling this year, it's taken a little bit longer than I had anticipated. But my hope is that I can be to every place, if not by the middle of January, hopefully sooner. That would be my goal.
Can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
share an example of something that you've heard from teachers and how we might have been able to respond to something they've needed or given them or shared information with other schools?
You bet. One of the things that is time, and it's more time to be able to do things for what they're looking at, and then time to be able to not have to spend doing those things that they're at. And it's making sure that as a district, what we're asking of them means and goes to something. And that it's not just training for the sake of training. And that if we are working with the buildings in general, that we're keeping in mind, these are people. And they have families and they have things that they need to be doing. I was in a meeting the other day and the comment came up that it doesn't matter what dollar you're going to pay me to attend a training, I don't have it in me. And that stuck because that's not just contagious, it's everywhere. And our staff feels it. We're working here at central office to look to see what we can take. One of the things that we're working on is you know, perhaps maybe even a formal letter to the PED requesting that we look at some things, you know, as a district that we get off the plate. So as far as the specifics, we've had some, you know, the subs, you know, it's hard for us when we're having to cover everybody else's classes. And, you know, again, we're working with all of our entities here to try to make sure that we get that taken care of. So look forward to continuing that. I don't think that I'm going to get a lot of a different, but I want to make sure that every staff has a chance to have their voice in that. Okay. I wrote on my deal toolkit. The new toolkit came out the other day from the PED. And the big item that really came out of that was, and you've got a copy of it with you, it's called Test to Stay. Actually, I think that's yours. So what Test to Stay at a glance will do for us, and the goal right now is to have this at every building. On one side will be English and on the other side will be Spanish. My Spanish translation was taking place today, so that we can get this to the parents. And the big thing with that is this, and this is huge because I want to make sure that my parents know this. We're not just going to randomly do something at the school without parental permission. Okay, we're not going to test a kid or do anything unless the parents have given us the green light. In an ideal world, which we're going to be shooting for, we're going to have written consent, either paper hard copy or online, and a phone call. So the way this works is like this, and this only works if a student is exposed at school. So if they're exposed at the house and they come into the building and say, I had a family member at home that tested positive with COVID, and I would like to do Test to Stay. Okay, our state regulations right now say that we cannot put this program out there. And at first, that one kind of rubbed me a little bit because I was like, well, I want all my kids to stay. Okay, the way the rule was explained to us was, at least at school, you have the opportunity to mitigate any type of exposure. You're wearing your mask, you're 6 feet apart. I don't know that changes. However, I might be looking to try to push to say it's irrelevant where they were exposed, For right now, though, and there is a large cost associated with this, we're going to stick with if they were exposed at school. So if they've been exposed and the nurse calls, where currently you would be getting the phone call that says you have to stay home 10 days. With test to stay, if you're unvaccinated, okay, you would come back in the next day with permission from your parents, and you would receive a rapid test. The rapid test takes 10 to 15 minutes. It's a negative test, and you go back to class, and you get after it. We would test on days 1, 3, and 5. And as long as those tests are negative, the student would stay in school.
Nice.
Okay, there's provisions there that if they miss a day, you know, the thought there is that they would be trying to bypass the test because they know they're positive now. They miss a test day, that's an automatic positive, and they fulfill the remaining 10 days. Our hope here is that our parents would take advantage of the opportunity to keep them in. Because I've had several parents say, I'll test them every day.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me what we've got to do. The one drawback to this was several large ones, but the one that kind of jumps out is that's 3 tests per student. So if you have an incident that you're in a room, a student's in a room, and there's 4 desks around that student, and there's 4 students in that desk, all 4 of those students, unvaccinated, would now qualify for test to stay. That's 4 tests on the first day, 4 more tests on the 3rd day, and then 4 more tests on the 5th day. The thought here is that we've got some funding coming that has not produced itself just yet. We have had to order additional tests to try to get us ready to roll this out. At current, we do not have the stockpile ready to put this out. We had a shipment come in the other day. As you can imagine, multiple agencies across the state, across the nation are trying to get their hands on the quick test. Our provider, we ordered a considerable amount. And what we were told when we got it back was, we basically gave you what we could give you at this time. We feel like we would be adequately equipped within another week or 2 where we can knock this out as fast as we possibly can. Because I know the state came out the other day and said, effective immediately, this is what you can do. But they didn't front load it with the supplies going out. We're working with several groups. I know Mr. Mata and myself and Ms. McLean have been in meetings just about every day, trying to make sure that we're not missing something, that if there's a program out there or money available, that we're getting on board with that, so that the brunt of the cost of this is not chewing up other funding sources that we have. We do feel pretty confident that that's going to take place. And like I said, we're trying to get that as quickly as possible. But currently, we're not quite there with the ability to give the test on a mass scale like that just yet.
So what about for vaccinated students?
Vaccinated students, it doesn't matter because they don't have to follow that policy.
They don't have to.
They don't have to quarantine. And that's currently out there. So, but again, my big one with that is we are not, let me reemphasize that, we are not doing anything without the parents saying it's okay. Okay. We had a flu clinic the other day, and one of my concerns was that it would be misconstrued that we were giving shots, and that immediately everybody would go that way. And I think I overreacted, and we've had a very good flu clinic. We've given several shots, but I do think that's the result of some really good communication from our nursing staff and getting that out to the kids. So with that, that would conclude my report. I stand for questions off of it.
I have one more question on the funding. So it's not, are we getting extra funds to buy all of these, or it's part of the funds that we're already expecting and now we have to use to purchase all?
No, ma'am, these would be extra funds.
Okay. That we just don't have yet.
That would be correct.
And Mr. Cole didn't say when they were coming either.
Yeah, the checks.
Just throw that out there.
Checks in the mail.
Any questions for Mr. Luck before we go to our next one?
That's pretty clear.
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So at this time, I'm going to have Mr. Mata give some just basic updates for the Human Resources Department.
How about Mr. Cole?
Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry. I just skipped Chad because he didn't have the money for me. Mr. Cole.
No worries, no worries. I'll move quickly. Thank you, Mr. Luck, President Morales, members of the board. So you have before you here tonight the general ledger report for all district budgeted funds, year-to-date activity as of October 31st. There's nothing special that jumps out at me with regard to that. I will tell you that our ESSERS 3 money, you'll notice that there's a bar on there tonight. It's the same bar from last month. So we submitted that bar to PED. My understanding, and of course in talking to Mr. Luck, and Mr. Luck is talking to superintendents across the state, a lot of those ESSERS 3 bars are getting kicked back by PED back to the district level for various reasons. I'll give you some information on why ours was kicked back. We actually budgeted a portion of those funds and that money into a line item account that is for fixed assets, $5,000 or greater. We do it all the time. It's not unusual. What they failed to mention was that they're requiring a new form. So in addition to your bar that's submitted, now you need to submit a special form, an equipment form is what they call it. And you need to detail what type of equipment, how much the quoted cost, several other details that need to go in this equipment form. This equipment form goes to another department in PED that's separate from the folks that are looking at the bar. And I guess they collaborate together, and then it gets approved. So we're waiting on estimates for equipment to put it in that particular line item. We've shifted from that line item into another line item within the same fund, and we're resubmitting that bar tonight so we can go ahead and get those funds in place. Our constant worry, particularly with federal funds, anything that starts with a 24 on the front end of the fund number, which in this case, it's a federal fund, is the carryover piece. Now we know that ESSERS 3 is a 3-year grant program. We have 3 years to expend it in 3 tranches. We'd like to go ahead and get that budgeted this fiscal year. We don't want to wait till May when the carryover award levers typically come out from the prior year's carryover, and we get access to that through PED. May's too late. We're graduating people in May. So we want to get these funds in place, and that's why you've got ESSERS 3 back on the board agenda. I want to point it out to you because if we come back to you next month and we put it on there again, I'm going to explain exactly why. Because we're seeing this statewide in terms of this.
Still talking about us spending it over the 3 years or getting it spent down this first year in case?
I'd just like to get it in budget this first year. And so.
And save our regular funds, put it wherever we need to for year 2 and 3.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we can carry those funds over, but you need to
'Cause we know we have
establish
that.
initial budget first. And we don't want to wait till May. We've got legitimate COVID-related expenses that we're trying to take care of here and that we've been taking care of for the previous 2 years. So there's this misnomer, and I think we're going to hear about this a lot when the legislative session kicks off. You're going to hear about how districts have all this money and how they need to cut funds from that level. I'm concerned about that. This is a lot of federal funding. A lot of it's reimbursement based, not all of it, but a lot of it is. So I just want you to be aware that there are some issues with it right now. And I don't know what the real particular reason is that they're kicking them back, but it is happening.
And so, Mr. Cole, in year 2 or 3, whenever something comes up and I ask about something related to COVID, there's still going to be funds there. It's just a different account, not the ESSER 3.
It will be the ESSER 3. So essentially you take that full award amount and you slice it 3 ways. You just divide it by 3.
So we're just planning ahead. We're not spending it all this first year.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
So
right.
kind of like encumbering it.
Yeah, it would be very difficult for us to spend it in 1 year, and we couldn't, so we won't.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you for that clarification.
And so, just wanted to point that out was ESSERS 3, and we'll see how it goes this month when we submit it tomorrow morning to the PED. We've completed the first quarter of activity, July through October, or July through September, I should say. We've completed the first quarter and submitted actuals reports to PED, county taxes, et cetera. We've got the audit in full swing, so this is the last week, last chance to dance, as they say. Monday is November 15th. It has to be accepted, and I'm throwing air quotes around accepted. That's the statutory language in the audit rule. So it has to be accepted by the state auditor's office. So we may have submitted it on time by November 15th, but if he doesn't accept it, then it comes back to us and it's an automatic audit finding for being late. I will tell you, without pointing out the specific agency in town, we're waiting on an agency here in town to give us a GASB 77 disclosure that's required. And so we're a little concerned about that. We've reached out to them. They're working with us. They're working diligently. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. But if it is, we'll certainly let our board members know. I'll tell you that we've scheduled the audit exit conference for Thursday of this week at 3 p.m. You have 2 board members on that conference, and of course your superintendent.
Am I on that committee?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Not
James and I. It's Mr. Edwards and myself.
Mr. Edwards and Ms. Kirk are on that committee. We'll do the exit conference. That's also the last chance to obtain information on any potential findings, those types of things. I won't get into that. Again, statute in state of New Mexico requires that before we start putting out public information on the audit, we're required to wait for the state auditor's office to review it and send us what they call the 5-day letter. Once we get it 5 days from receipt, then we can publish it and are required to. So we'll bring that back to the board. I would anticipate that time frame anywhere from December to February time frame. We know it was late, later than we're accustomed to last year, but that was, again, COVID hurdles and all those things. So going well, looking good. Don't anticipate any big surprises. I need to mention what's called GASB 84. I think we've talked about it before. I know we've talked about it in the audit committee. So GASB is Governmental Accounting Standards Board. 84 refers to a new provision that was implemented last year. It was supposed to be implemented year before that. With COVID, they kind of waived that. So right now the audit is concerned with last year's activity. That's what we're looking at. And so essentially what that requires is we look at all of our activity accounts across the district, and we determine and identify which of those have a fiduciary obligation. Essentially meaning, I'll just give you some examples. So scholarship funds, class of 1990, graduating class funds, funds that we don't control but that are in our activity accounts. So those have fiduciary responsibilities and obligations that we're required to keep up with. We need to restate those as fiduciary funds. In this case, they're what's called custodial type funds. And we also have to restate all of our other activity funds, formerly referred to as agency funds in the financial statements, and those are going to become special revenue funds, and they're reported in separate financial statements. Anyway, saying all that, what that means is we've got to restate all those funds and create 4 new sets of financial statements. So there's a lot going on with audit this year, particularly coming out of a COVID year, and so I think we've actually done pretty well with it.
And so, great reminder to the board in case you haven't already completed the questionnaire for the audit. Oh.
Yeah, we'd love to get it submitted to the state auditor's office by Friday. Again, we're working with that agency here in town that we need that GASB 77 disclosure quickly, but we'd like to get it out the door by Friday.
Got my confirmation.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
All right, now, Mr. Mata, human resource updates, sir?
Okay,
Madam President, Superintendent-elect, members of the board, I'll make this really quick. Just a quick overview of what we've been going, or what we've been happening from October 1st to November 1st. As far as new hires, we've hired 1 new administrator, 6 certified, 8 classified, 24 substitutes, and 8 coaches. On the flip side of that, resignations and retirements, we have 1 administrator retired, 4 certified, 5 classified, and 2 substitutes.
So it looks like we're still above though, based on the numbers you gave us?
It looks like we're a little bit ahead with the hires and the resignations. In-district transfers, certified and classified, there's 2 each. President Morales, I think you have my notes on the job fairs. I'll see if I can remember. So far, we've done 1 job fair. Mr. Mestis is in charge of that. He's our recruiter. That's the one with the New Mexico Department of Employment. We were able to hire 1 English language arts teacher for Sierra Middle School. We were in the process of sending 1 social studies teacher to Goddard to fill that vacancy. And we were able to acquire 2 more subs and 1 cafeteria worker through that job fair. Mr. Mestis has 1 to go to tomorrow. It's a virtual one at Walla Walla, Washington. I don't know why I like that word, Walla Walla, Washington. But and then we have 1 at UTEP next week, which him and Mrs. Trujillo will be attending.
Can I request that whenever we do job fairs locally, that we help with our own advertising? I know we did it with the New Mexico Department of Health, and I did not see anything on that job fair until the day of. And I think, I would like to help spread the word in the community, or just, I think we can help with our own advertising as well.
What I could do with that one, President Morales, is I could have Mr. Mestis go ahead and get with you to see which ones we're doing locally, so that way you have.
Awesome. That'd be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Any questions?
Last just question, I'm thinking of Mr. Mata. We had some students in here at the last board meeting from the college. I don't remember. I wish I knew. A lot of times students graduate in December. I don't know if these guys are going to be done in December or May, or that'd be great for us to just remember when they're done.
The irony to that is I think about 4 different people from inside the audience actually talked to the kids. Students, excuse me. They were kids of mine too, some of them. And I believe we've got them ID'd so that we can try to hang on to them as best we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mata.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Cole, curriculum instruction updates?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Superintendent Luck, President Morales, members of the board. Here come the handouts. You were emailed this information on Friday afternoon, I believe, so I will just go through some highlights because we have so much going on. So starting with early childhood, we started ABE classes. Orientation was held on October 26th. This is at Parkview Early Literacy Center. Pyramid parenting classes began on November 1st at Parkview.
We got this emailed to us.
Okay. And then the toy lending library. I just want to point out that the toy lending library is open every Wednesday from 9 to 11:30 and 2 to 5:30 for our parents to come in and check out books and educational toys for their students. Coming up, November 19th, Dr. Lucero Carrillo has the Gifted Egg Drop for 5th grade students that will be held at the Roswell Aquatic Center.
How fun.
Ms. Steinhardt has purchased our CKLA ELA adoption, so we are very excited about that. We have some principals who are ready to begin the professional development and implementation. And so, yes, Ms. Ingram, we will be meeting our schools where they are, and we'll start a winter cohort for those schools that are ready for the PD and implementation. And then we'll have another cohort for schools that feel more ready to start in the spring, and then we'll have a late cohort. But in general, I believe the majority of our principals are ready to get going with that. Speaking of, well, let me point out one more thing. So our families and youth in transition and foster care liaison. So our students identified as homeless are up right now. So we have 50 in district. We have 4 students who are seniors. And so we'll be working with them to provide the support they need to prepare them for graduation, as far as things like caps and gowns and those kinds of things that seniors do. So we keep close track of our graduating seniors that may have some special resources needed. Community schools is up and running. We have several clubs happening at Sierra Middle School. Last week, we met with our high schools for 3 days with Southern Regional Educational Board and a couple of other contractors who specialize in principal mentorship and master scheduling. And so we're working on designing our guided pathways at the high schools. So that will be an ongoing work. We set a timeline for having our master schedule complete and having student schedules out. It's a very aggressive timeline this year because we want our students to have schedules in their hands when they leave for summer vacation. And so part of having those schedules in their hands is making sure that they have access to classes that will keep them engaged and that will help better prepare them for their future. So 3 days of that last week, I'm very proud of the work that the high schools did, and we'll be doing some more on the 16th and 17th of November.
Ms. Cole?
Yes,
Quick question on you mentioned principal mentorship. Who are the mentees and who does the mentorship?
So we are starting a cohort of new principals, year 1 principals, year 2 principals, that will include assistant principals. Mr. Luck has asked that we work on growing our own administrators. And so we'll be meeting to identify some of those up-and-coming leaders.
Ms. Ingram knew I was going to ask her to mentor principals, so
Oh,
she's
she's
like,
gonna ask
I am out of here. So I was a joke.
No, it's
We were about
serious.
to give you a big job, Miss Ingram.
So you
Have a
better
good night.
exit quickly.
Good night. Sorry, Miss Cole.
That's okay. That's okay.
Couldn't pass the opportunity.
I know.
So we are working with someone who has some historic presence in our district at building systems and doing some things systemically. And so that company is Jim Shipley and Associates. And so I actually have not briefed Mr. Luck on that yet because it was just finalized this afternoon. So we've had conversations about it, but that's on our
It's a go.
to-do list
That's
for
right.
tomorrow.
Is the state still doing principals pursuing excellence? Like, are we part of that, or are we not doing that?
They do have some cohorts of, and yes, we do. We do have some attendees in that also.
So we think this is a better plan than,
We do because we can
Customize
meet
it.
the needs of our own district rather than having to look at an overarching meet the needs of all districts in New Mexico kind of thing. So we can really customize it to meet our own needs.
So one of the things too, and just wanted to kind of add to that, Ms. Cole and I have talked a lot. We've had several situations recently where we've actually had to shuffle, where we've had to grab principals from different buildings, and we've actually got to a point the other day where I went to a building, and I loved it. See any reason why I shouldn't be able to go and help out for an afternoon and help out. But it did spark a conversation where, we have some needs, and we're not going to wait to get our people into certain programs just for the sake of waiting to put them in that program. That if we've got a group that are looking forward to it, let's get them in. Let's get them identified. Let's train them up, and see if they can't help us out whenever we run into things, and hopefully it'll play out for everybody, very beneficial in the long run. But no, Ms. Cole and I talk about this all the time. I talk with Ms. Trujillo as well to try to, shake the bushes to make sure that we can get what we need.
So do we have our substitute list, do we have an administrator's substitute list?
I got that. We're working on that one.
Okay.
We have a group that we rely on very heavily. And that was one of the things that we were talking about as far as getting a core group of people. And the part of that would be that they would have to be ready to go somewhere kind of on a moment's notice. And that does create a bit of a problem in their classroom. So there's a little bit more to that. But right now we've been pretty lucky. But I think we're tempting fate a little bit as time goes by.
And so just to add on to that, there's an application process with PED for asking for our administrators to be a part of Principals Pursuing Excellence. And so oftentimes, and as was the case this year, we hire administrators after that deadline. And so those brand new administrators miss out on those opportunities. The other thing is that it takes them out of their school for 2 and 3 days at a time. And so we want to be able to keep them local. And it's still a continuous improvement model. Okay, so the last thing on my report is just the social emotional piece. And we talked about meeting schools where they are. And so with that said, we feel that there's a need to slow down just a little bit and let people catch their breath. And so we have worked on some training with our social workers and counselors, a CSTAG threat assessment training. We're moving that to online. And we are developing a team that will be a triage team to support our school principals when they have some behavior issues that they're struggling with in their schools. And so that will be the primary focus of our work for the next several weeks. I stand for any questions.
Ms. Cole, I have one big question, and I don't know if you'd have the answer to it yet or not. It's kind of just a question to put out there. And your team has done an amazing job really giving our teachers a lot of resources, PD, training experts, all of this. But have we taken anything off of their plate this year? Is there something that they're not doing? Like, sometimes getting so much support can be overwhelming. Like, as part of our strategy, have we taken anything away? And it can be hard sometimes with all the rules, regulations, and all that, but
Can I get that one?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a comment on that too, because I've heard from several teachers about that, but I will respond.
Okay. So let me see how I do on this one, okay? That is where the entire going out and talking to the teacher thing came from. And it was an accident. I went to a particular building and the principal thought I wanted to talk to the teacher leadership team instead of the kids. And so I walked into a room full of adults and I was like, well, let's just do this. And literally, I mean, it was great. I sat down and we just had a conversation. And so I came back, I visited with Ms. Cole. I mean, we've talked as a group, and it is an opportunity after you look at the whole big picture to go, okay, what is the big thing? And what can we start moving around? What can take off? What can wait? And unfortunately, it does take us a while to kind of look at them, because in a knee-jerk reaction, you grab this, and then 3 months down the road, that was the worst thing you could have possibly taken off their plate, because it had a long-lasting thing that you needed. And Ms. Cole and I have been working on that. We're going to try to come up with some things that, and again, we say training and new, and I mean, I can imagine there's teachers right now probably going, oh, great, but I know that the work that we're fixing to pull off with kind of condensing, to answer your question, I can't point to something just yet that's been taken off their plate, but I know that is heavily on our radars. That we're very much well aware that they're full, and a lot of them are just about done, and we're working on it. But
So to piggyback off that, Mr. Luck, yeah, I have had conversations with several teachers, just random out shopping or whatever, and that's the first thing what they want to do is stop and talk about education, you know. That's what educators do. So their biggest concern is it's not what the administration's handing to them, it's not what their principals are handing to them, and this was an overarching voice. It was what PED, it's from PED, the mandates trickle down to them, and the requirements of documentation, everything. So it had nothing to do with the principal. For the majority, everybody said they loved their principal that I've talked to along the way. And administration's not the key, it's the mandates from PED. And there's really nothing we can do about that.
you know, and I will say this, I think with Dr. Steinhaus in place, and I've never met the man up until this happened. So I have no I have no past with him, but I do know if we pick up the phone and we call him, he answers. If we send him an email, we get a response. I got a text message the other day over something that wasn't even us, and it was a condolence that I passed on to the people that needed it. But he's very much aware, and I think he's a little bit more in tune with what's going on, and I think it does come back to the redirecting the ship. That's ship moment. That it's just taking him a little bit of time to kind of pull some of that off. Now, like I said, we've got a pretty decent relationship with, and that's one of the things that whenever I'm out and I'm asking the teachers, I'm like, okay, I'm all in for telling me the problems, but most of y'all have a solution to. So what are some things that you could see would help with this? And like I said, I've got some decent feedback, and there were a couple of them that we're actually, like I said, going to try like an official, shot with the state to see if we can get some of that done, because it is a lot. It is a lot.
And see, I agree with you. I think Mr. Steinhaus is probably he's local. He's a local person. He's a New Mexican, and he's a former superintendent, so he knows. He's come up through the ranks, and he gets it. And I can't speak highly enough for bringing our own up through the ranks. They know our state, they know us, and they have some ownership. So most definitely, I think he will listen.
So my last comment, I think there's one thing that we can do now, because there's a lot that we can't do, and not that it's the right answer, but figuring out how to give our teachers more time to do all the paperwork, the planning, the requirements. I know some of our schools have a little bit more of an advantage than others based on their staff and student population, considering, well, I'm a third grade teacher, I may have PE twice a week because we can do it. At a different school, I may have PE one time a week, and that takes away prep time. So I don't know how we can maybe get creative and see, looking at our school schedules and looking at library, PE, music, but I think that's a way for now that we can help, is by giving teachers time and really thinking about when we're supporting them, does it need to happen now? And just always keeping that in mind. And it is not a Roswell issue by far, but that's what I care about is Roswell, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
You're welcome.
All right. And Mr. Bewley, and we need to make sure that we get this put in here correctly. So we have down here assessment updates, but just a reminder, Mr. Bewley is also bilingual over the bilingual department and my gifted and my AP department as well. So he's got more than just the assessment updates.
Well, I'll try to tie it all together. President Morales, Superintendent Luck, members of the board. Can you all hear me? I'm not sure if I was supposed to press this or not. Okay, good. So I was really, really happy to hear Ms. Ingram come and make her presentation of the 90-day plan. something that Mr. Luck has mentioned before about how everything is being drawn together and he can see it all interconnecting. So you saw it from there. We had our beginning of year assessments, we're already done with those. And now they're taking that data and they are using it for their planning. And the state has provided for us some great tools in the instructional scope, Mastery Connect, and some cognitive resources to where she has mentioned that they're tearing apart those standards and figuring out what they need to do to address the needs of the students. And so our middle of year is coming up beginning in December and January. But it's, the assessment gives us a roadmap of where we need to move. One thing that she had also mentioned about the CKLA, hope I got the letters in the right order, that now that we have a core program, we can address the needs that are brought out and manifested in the assessment. One thing in particular that has been brought out quite a bit was about the phonics. And we did see that need for phonics in our first grade dyslexia screener that we did. And Mr. Luck gave me a call and said, we don't have 40% dyslexic students. I said, no, that's not the way that works. But I was really happy with the work that the teachers put in on that one and how they're using that data and how we're going to move forward and continue with that. And Ms. Walker is off at La Cosecha. She wanted me to mention that we have English language adult classes starting at Mesa, and we're starting them at Sierra also next week or the week after. So they're going to be on both ends of town. And she's got TESOL coaching going on at Berendel, Del Norte, and Military Heights, all that north side right there. And they just concluded a virtual PD with Dr. Eugenia Mora Flores on how to boost language development for ELs across the curriculum. So really exciting. They're doing a lot of exciting things there. And the one piece of data that we're still waiting on is our PSAT that we took in October. And that had 300 people in the gym at a time there. So I was really glad. I said we had to be very careful to follow all of our COVID guidelines and to make very careful that we knew exactly who sat next to who in that room. And so we haven't had any issues, any responses from that one. So very happy with that. But if anyone had any questions in particular.
Mr. Bewley, have you heard, is the state going to be requesting another waiver for assessments this year?
As a matter of fact, they've already done that.
Are we
so,
going to get to opt in like last year?
Well, we don't get to opt in the fact that the federal government requires us to take that end of course exam. The waiver that we've got, I mean, not end of course, excuse me, end of year. So those tests that we take in April, which is the SAT for the high school and the Cognia assessments, NMASA that we take for 3rd through 8th, we have to do those. But we do have a waiver on is the state had been looking at graduation requirements, and we were waived on the fact that they had to take an assessment and prove competency. So that's the waiver that we got the last 2 years, and that's been extended on into this next year. And we're looking at a completely different model without an assessment requirement that you pass a test, but that you demonstrate your competency based on your course of study and where you're headed to in your plan, so that we can hopefully get our kiddos to move from high school into post-secondary planning more smoothly, rather than having this one test that you take one day in April, and that decides whether you're competent or not. So that's a plan in place, and we're moving that way, and we are going to be working with that. We've got a team of people from all the high school to work on that plan for Roswell. And so we did get a waiver, but we didn't get a waiver.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else, board?
And just a quick point of clarification. Mr. Hill's watching, and she says principals pursuing excellence is no more. They're been replaced by New Mexico Lead, New Mexico Thrive, and New Mexico Rise. And so I'll find out a little bit more about that, maybe bring that to you guys next time.
Guessing, Mr. Luck, it's the exact same program with the new name?
Yeah.
Probably so, but I'll make sure that I get that
Okay,
right for you guys.
Thank you.
Same thing.
Alrighty, now we have our board communication. If anybody has anybody to quickly share announcements or updates.
Yes, so our annual conference, NMSBA's annual conference is coming up Thursday, December the 2nd through Saturday, the 4th. And on Thursday is the newly elected board members' mandatory training from 1 to 5. Actually, it's a welcome from 1 to 1:15. And then the conference actually is concurrent sessions start at 1:15 to 5. And that's newly elected board member training. And then we adjourn at 12 noon on Saturday, December the 4th. So it's actually Thursday the 2nd through Saturday the 4th.
Ms. Whitcamp, have you been able to be in contact with our new board members to get them registered?
Good, good. And it's excellent training. Dr. Rendon and, her name just slipped my mind. Anyway, Dr. Hugh Prather used to do it, but he's no longer doing it. So it's through CES, and it's excellent training. And you will get 4 concurrent sessions, and I think they're doing 2 this time, and then you'll get 2 more. And it takes you through every step of roles and responsibilities of board members. And it's very good, and it's in-depth, and it's interactive. So hopefully you'll be able to attend. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. So I'll take that one off my list. I just wanted to share the CASA program. They do a lot to support our students here in Roswell. They have their biggest fundraiser coming up next Friday, their Winter Wonderland. They are charging for tickets this year, $150, but it pays for food, drinks, and $100 will go toward the live auction. So I just want to put that out there. I hope we get some RISD staff, families there, just because they are big supporters of our districts and our kiddos.
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
A
Yes,
couple
sir.
quick things. So, many moons ago, Mr. Gottlieb and I were having a conversation about brain freeze, where you run all day and you stop and you can't remember half of what you covered. And, you know, she's talking about recess. You know, these are kids who we expect to be able to retain the information we give them, and we know that it's tough. So, you know, my concern is that, you know, if kids aren't getting a mass break or a recess, you know, because everyone needs a break. And I'm sure the teachers probably could really use, go run and play 15 minutes, I just need to count you and make sure you all come back in my classroom, okay? And I just would hope that that is followed up on. In 2 months, I won't be sitting here, but I remember what it was like drinking from a fire hose, trying to grasp all of the acronyms, who did what a Moby Max was as opposed to an ITAP. And maybe you jot some of those down for the new board members, so when they're sitting here and they're like, oh, I know what that is. You know, it just would help their transition a little bit. You know, if every department put, you know, 25 together, and then, you know, they got to add them to at the end. I just think it would be helpful in building them as a board member, and maybe not be quite so lost. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Great feedback.
I want to say something on that recess, the punishing or not allowing the students to have the recess. I know that there's a policy where if one student has done something wrong, that they can't punish the whole class. And this was happening in one of our buildings a couple of years ago, where all the class, the whole 3rd grade classes, were actually placed against the wall to sit on the slab of cement when the sun was almost 90-something degrees, and that reflecting on those students was the most horrible thing to ever see. So I would like to make sure that principals know and follow the policies not to treat these kids like that. Or they'll punish them for something, no homework done, and they just put them against that wall. It is super, super
Mass
hard.
punishment?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So it is part of our policy where
Yes, ma'am.
you cannot just sit them and confine them where they can't move at all.
Correct.
So please, please.
Yes, ma'am. And I believe we've already started the work on trying to fix what was wrong.
Yes.
In fact, I'm almost positive we have,
Good.
while y'all stepped out.
Oh, okay.
Anything else, board? Okay, this is the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Gilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Milburn Dolan?
Yes.
And